Alright, so this is going to be part 4 to What If Deku Had Divine Dividing. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
They took it to 10. Let me tell you how I come through with the 1-2, kicking shit like kung fu. Treat a bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, little hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the raw fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, so before we start the What If, I would like to do a quick update on the kind of commandments. So recently we just added 2 more commandments, and they're actually patience and repose. So for patience, you guys actually might know him. He's one of the people who inspired me to actually create my channel, and I didn't really expect him to actually join, but it's actually Ryan Trunky, right? Some of you might be subscribers from him because he, when I started my channel, he did give me a shout out before I was even at like 100 subscribers. So yeah, and then the other one, the person who is the commandment of repose is actually Goku, the What If God. If you don't remember, I actually did give him a shout out a while back when I was making the sins, right? So yeah, we just need 2 more spots. We need I forgot which ones, but yeah, we just need like 2 more spots. The 2 more spots are open. So yeah, so in the last part, I actually asked you guys like, what should be the name? Should it be for the the bounce breaker or whatever? Should it be Vanishing Welsh Dragon or Welsh Vanishing Dragon? And this was kind of a landslide. Honestly, it was for Vanishing Welsh Dragon, which kind of makes sense since he had the White Emperor first, the White Dragon Emperor first, and then the Red Dragon. So in this part, we're actually going to go over the sports festival. So in this one, they would have, they would be in class, and Aizawa would tell, the class about how the sports festival is going to go down, and it's a very important thing, right? Because it's important to choose the right agency for you for your internship, because later on people might regret it. So he's trying to like really focus on how important this is. So later on, Deku would go to lunch, but this is when All Might would actually, tell him like, oh, can you meet me for lunch, right? And he's not doing this because he is, he has a success for One for All, but he's actually doing this because he knows about One for All, and he sees a lot of potential in Midoriya since he has both the Red Dragon and the White Dragon Emperor. So he basically tells him something similar to the anime, but not quite. He doesn't tell him about All for One. He just tells him about how he has to try everything he has, because everyone out there is going to try their best to win. And that's kind of the little like talk that they have, but they don't really talk about All for One. So in this kind of week that they have, Deku does some training with his balance breaker, trying to harness both powers, right? Because last time he used it, he was in a very angry mindset, right? We're using his emotions to his benefit, because that's how the Red Dragon actually works. I think the White Dragon does the same, but I'm not sure. So last time you guys didn't really like the color pink as the kind of balance breaker color, and that was not really like, I wasn't really too serious about that. I wasn't gonna like make that the permanent color. I just thought it would be kind of funny to kind of have that imagery. But yeah, I'm gonna change the color to kind of a mix of both white and red, with white being the main color and then red being the secondary color. So I think also from what I did last time, I think I'm gonna change the ship for this What If, because I wasn't able to kind of implement that in the last part, and I'm gonna make it this like series have a ship with Suyu instead of Momo, since that was the second most requested, and I had some they had some interactions in the last part. So that's what I'm gonna do. So in this one, Deku, he would practice using his dragon shot, I believe it's called, the kind of power that the red dragon can do after boosting at a certain amount and shooting like some magical energy, right? And he would basically try to like know or figure out what's the best way to use it and practice his aim and things like that, right? And he would mix in a lot of physical training because the stronger the wielder is, it's just easier to like do everything else, right? Just how Issei had to train near the beginning of the anime physically, so that's how he would kind of do, right? And we would get to the day of the actual sports festival, right? And I think Deku would be the one to kind of do the speech, right? And what he would do in this one, what he would do, like what you think he would, right? He would tell everyone like, everyone's gonna try their best, and we gotta see who is, number one. And I hope everyone, has a great time and things like that, right? And people would obviously cheer, and Bakugo would be angry since he's the one doing the speech and things like that. So obviously there would still be that rivalry between the top 3 students in Class 1A, that being Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo, each of them telling Deku that they're going to beat him. So we get to the part where it's the actual obstacle course. And in this one, Deku basically, he wins it no problem because he can fly, and not really most of the other kind of students cannot, especially the part where they get trapped in that kind of gateway at the beginning. So Deku would have a very large start. And I think Deku, trying to get the most advantage he could, he would probably use like a half dimension around him to kind of take their power, and then he would boost himself, right? But I don't think he would use his like balance breaker yet, because that does drain some stamina. So he would just use his like normal wings, right? Because that's how the white dragon actually appears. It doesn't appear like the booster gear where it's a gauntlet. It's actually wings. So he would just use his wings to kind of fly through every obstacle and just go past everything, right? He might use a dragon shot just to take out one of the 0 pointers, but that's kind of it, because he doesn't really need to use his balance breaker for that. Like, you use a dragon shot when you're not in a balance breaker. So yeah, so over the kind of other obstacles like the land or the landmines, he would have no difficulty over that because he could just fly over it. So I would say in first place would be Deku, and then third or second would be Todoroki, third would be Bakugo, right? I think that's how it went in canon, but I don't remember. So the next part would be the kind of cavalry race, right? So Deku in this one isn't too concerned as he was before in canon, because he has both White and Red Dragon Emperor in him. So this will give him a lot of a confidence, right? Not only is both dragons would encourage the user, right, to get stronger, right? So in this one, I think that Deku would ask, Suyu and Uraraka, because those would be the only 2 that would want to go with him, because everyone else would kind of want to, go to other people, because he's a big target, right? Because he has the biggest headband with the most points on it. So I think he would have to, settle for Mai. I believe that's her name, Mai Hatsume, something like that. It's the girl with the kind of quirk that lets her like see farther, and she has that like kind of unique kind of eyes. So yeah. So Deku in this one, he would be a little like, it's not too hard really, because again, he could fly. The only time it's really hard for him to like whenever there's like difficulty, it's mostly coming from Bakugo, because he would be focused on getting Deku, and he's really the only one, to my knowledge, that could really get him, because the other people can't really fly. except for maybe Todoroki, but or not Todoroki, you know what I mean, like jump really high using his eyes and things like that. So yeah, that's basically what happened. He'd be in the air, and there'd be kind of this kind of battle between Bakugo and the kind of other team. So Deku using his wings, and Uraraka making everyone, basically weightless, using her quirk, he would just be able to dodge really fast. And at this point, I think he would use his balance breaker to kind of not be restricted by that kind of time limit when it comes to divide. So I think he would just keep on dividing Bakugo's power until he couldn't fly anymore, and this would cause him to fall down, right? And this is when his team would catch him, and this is when I think Monoma would come in and steal his headbands. And I don't think Bakugo would be in a position to steal it back, because he would have got his power divided a lot, right? And he's not like he doesn't have the boosted gear, so he can't just boost his self like many times to get his strength back. So I'm not sure the time it takes to recover from a divide, but we could say it's pretty long, right? So by the time that the timer actually ends, Bakugo actually loses, and Monoma actually takes a spot instead of the other way around. So at this point, I think Monoma would have his explosion quirk on him, and maybe the hardening quirk that Kirishima has. So yeah. So we would get to the kind of next part of the story with the kind of tournament part. So the first, and then Ojiro would actually tell Deku about the mind control quirk that Shinso has, so he would be prepared for that. And then this is when we actually get to the tournament part, and the first kind of fight would be Shinso versus Deku. And Albion and Drake would tell Deku to be on his, to be cautious of this opponent. They don't really know his like moveset or really anything about him, except he has a mind control quirk, but they don't know how it really works. So the same way this would, it kind of work in canon, where Shinso would kind of taunt Deku and instigate him to kind of speak, right? To kind of, ask him questions to get him to answer so he could mind control him. Drake and Albion would tell Deku not to talk to him so that he could, be safe, on the safe side, right? And this is when Shinso would basically tell him like, oh, how does it feel to have such a heroic quirk when mine's, people all my life has been telling me that it's the perfect kind of quirk for a villain, right? You don't know how hard I've been trying to get into the hero course, but I had to settle for general studies because there'd be no way I'd be able to get into the hero course. And the crowd's hearing this, and they kind of sympathize with him, and so does what's it called, Aizawa, right? Because both of them have quirks that are powerful but aren't really physically based or even really flashy. So Deku would just push him out of the ring using a small like dragon shot. And after the fight was over, he would kind of console Shinso, telling him that don't worry, if you keep on trying, you'll become a hero, right? It doesn't matter what kind of quirk you have, you just need that drive to become a hero. And it doesn't really matter what quirk you have, like I said, just that you need to have that kind of drive. So Shinso would take this to heart and kind of accept his loss and try even harder to get into hero course. So you guys can tell me if you want him to be in the hero course, since I did make it where Mineta was out, so we could take his spot. So If you guys want that, just tell me down below. So the next fight would be, because the other fights would go the same, so it would be Deku versus Monoma. So, oh no, it'd be Todoroki versus Deku, right? So in this one, he would basically use his kind of ice to kind of go and attack Deku, but the ice is really too slow, and for a kind of mobile target like Deku, since he has those wings and he's a lot faster, it's not really going to hit him. Plus he has a, he has half dimension that could literally half the ice and make it, smaller, and he has the dragon shot, which could blast any ice that goes near him, so it's not going to do much. So he basically tells Todoroki, like, why aren't you using both sides of your powers? It doesn't make sense, right? And he would basically say, like how would you know anything about me? I don't want to win using his quirk and things like that. And he basically say, like, it's not his, he's like, what do you mean his quirk, right? And Todoroki would be like, my father's. And Deku would basically just say, like, it's not his quirk, it's yours. You have to make it your own. No one's gonna, take that away from you. And this is when Deku would use an example of using himself as an example, right? He would be like, just look at me, right? I have two opposing powers just like yours, one that divides and one that doubles. But I'm still using both because I want to win this and I'm trying my best. So this is when it gets through to Todoroki, and this is when he charges like a shot, right? Basically what he was doing in the anime, where he just puts his arms out and it kind of lights on fire, and he's about to do a huge fireball, right? Or a huge fire blast. And this is when Cementos is kind of like everyone is getting ready for this huge fight, and this is when Deku's going like his boosted gears going like boost, right? Trying to like shoot back at it, right? And Albion's kind of like, I don't think we really need that yet. And as like he's like he shoots the fire, right? This is when he shoots the dragon shot at it, and they're kind of colliding, right? And this is when Albion uses his power, and he actually divides Todoroki's flame in half, right? And this gives power, or enough power to kind of overpower the I said it like 5 times, but anyways, yeah, Todoroki would get engulfed by the dragon shot, and this would push him out of the ring, just how it kind of was in canon, but he would actually be out of the ring, or how Deku was in canon. So the next fight would be basically Monoma and Deku, right? So if you guys want, I'll put a poll on this. Do you want Monoma or Shinso to be in Class 1A? So I'll put a poll on this video, and then you guys can tell me. So yeah, so Monoma would kind of be sneaky about this, right? I think that's kind of his character, to kind of be sneaky. And the way I mean by that is like, he would try to trick Deku. Yeah, he's kind of like a trickster, I believe, in his kind of fighting style. He would try to kind of instigate him to kind of get close to him so he could copy his quirk. But Deku doesn't really have a quirk. These are sacred gears, which gets passed down to the different generations. Not necessarily your generation, but like in general, right? It goes to different user, and there's a different user every time, and you're born with it. It's not a quirk, right? It's like a physical object, right? So yeah, Monoma would try to copy it, but it wouldn't work. So he'd be confused, thinking that this might be like a mutation quirk or something like that. So he would try to do like blast, right? He would do like really powerful explosions using Bakugo's quirk. And this doesn't really do much to Deku, because he's fought Bakugo all of his life, and a guy who barely got his powers isn't gonna know how to use it that well. And he would basically just divide his power, and then he would just shoot him with a dragon shot. And he would try to use Kirishima's hardening quirk to kind of protect him from the blast, but again, his power was halved, so it wouldn't really do much, and this would knock him out of the ring. So yeah, Deku in this is really overpowered, especially when he has both Welsh and Vanishing Dragon. So we would get to the point where it was the kind of aftermath, and they're giving people the medals. So basically what would happen is All Might would tell Deku, like, you did a great job, you went all out, used both sides of your powers, and you gave the audience a great show, and you even inspired one of our students, so you get a lot of praise for that. And then he would go to Monoma and basically say, like, you tried to use your quirk against someone else and it didn't work, and you kind of lost your way. You need to make more backup plans for cases like this, but you were able to get this far because you were quick on your feet and able to take people's, or copy people's quirk and use it against them, but just kind of have that show more in your fighting style. So that's kind of how the All Might would say to him. And then he would come to Todoroki. He would basically say, like, you might resent your father, but it's not really his quirk, it's yours, and you should learn to accept that, and you should use both sides, because your ice is your defense and your fire is your offense, so you need to learn how to use both, right? Because if you didn't, you had no chance of defeating Deku. Or he would say Midoriya, since Deku doesn't have that nickname, since he wasn't bullied, really. So, yeah. So we would get to the part, I guess a little bit after, and Iida's actually calling, or he was on the phone, and he figures out that his brother was attacked by the hero killer, and Deku kind of overhears this, and he's kind of worried for Iida, and Iida just basically says it's fine, nothing really happened. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here, and in the next part we'll go over the kind of hero names and things like that, right? So if you have any hero names you want, just comment down below. And yeah, so with that being said, this is going to be the end of the video. So yeah,